Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Welcome back to the Infowars Nightly News. I'm your host, Rob Dew, sitting in our brand new revamped studio over here where the original Nightly News used to take place. My next guest joining me, you may have seen him, if you watched our Bilderberg coverage, sticking his mic in the face of many globalists as they were trying to walk around and enjoy their day in Dresden, Germany. His name's Tilman Knechtel, and we're going to get his opinion on what happened yesterday in Germany at the shooting in Wernheim, and also talk about what's going on with Brexit. Because as you know, Germany and Britain were basically the two pillars holding up the EU, and now that they have voted to leave, what is going to be the future of the European Union? Tilman, how's it going today?
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us. So what has been the reaction in Germany to Britain voting to leave the EU?
Well, we have reactions now from the Minister of the Economy, who said, now the threat of war is rising in Germany. They really bring this now into the discussion, there's going to be new war. So they always say this. They held this threat up for 10 years. They said, oh no, if there's smaller states, they will all go to war with each other, because they wanted obviously to centralize the European Union and making this big super state. So there's obviously no danger from small states attacking other countries. I mean, when did you see Monaco attack somebody? And when did you see Switzerland attack somebody? So this is obviously just fear mongering. And we had the German Green Party member, Rebecca Harms. She said she was about to cry because she will miss the British Parliament members. And she called the British Parliament members and they were actually crying. And yeah, I would also be crying if I get paid 100,000 a month for basically doing nothing. So yeah, they create all this panic and say, the bureaucratic effort is now so high to get out of this. But obviously it was the EU that implemented all these laws to England and Britain. So it's obviously it's the EU's fault that they have all these laws and they have now this bureaucratic effort to get out of there. And now they blame it on the Brexit voters that they made it so difficult to get out of there. But if they hadn't installed it in the first place, all these laws and all these EU regulations, there would be no problem with it. So it's obviously the EU's fault. So it's really ridiculous, and it's all over the world. I mean, mainstream media is bought and paid for by the EU, so they obviously report negatively about the vote now.
Yeah, they're taking the initial reports of gold going up and the pound going down and stocks going down in some areas, and just saying, "Oh, this is it. This is Armageddon is happening. This is it." People voted to essentially to break up the EU with Britain leaving. But I think that's all a bunch of hot air. They said the same thing in Iceland when they voted to basically go after the bankers and make the bankers accountable for destroying their economy. And what happened? Within 6 months, they had turned their economy around. They were back in the surplus. They put bankers in jail, and now they're one of the more prosperous countries in the European area. And there's nobody saying that Europeans can't have trade and culture and work together on things. But when you create a dictatorial government inside with control over all these nations, what do you expect is going to happen? Eventually, people are going to get angry and decide to leave. So has Merkel come out and said anything lately?
No, don't think Merkel said anything yet. So it's just this Minister of the Economy is the second biggest politician. But what you said is true, because these politicians from the EU, these bureaucrats, they say the market wasn't there before us. All our exports go to Europe. Well, look what happened 20 years ago. All our exports went to European countries too. So they really say now the EU is responsible for the trade with Europe. But no, the EU is there to destroy the trade in Europe. I mean, if you haven't watched it the last 10 years, you are asleep. You need to see that they destroy the economy. You saw the economic crisis increase. They are there to destroy the economy, the European bureaucrats. And obviously, they say now this is a threat to the economy. If they wanted more trade with Britain, they could just say, okay, maybe we make a special deal with them and say, okay, there will be no taxes on British imports or exports. And Britain can say this too. We make a special deal with the EU, and there will be free trade and not that much of these European laws. So it's always the bureaucrats there who say this is a danger, but they are destroying the economy. And that shows that their real motive is obviously to build the super state, because they could just get rid of some of these laws and then we would have more trade. But they say now, oh, this is a danger for the trade, even though they're destroying it. It's ridiculous.
And, economists and geopolitical types from all over are saying that what the EU is and is becoming is a giant threat to Russia, and the EU just being in existence the way it is now is going to lead to a giant war with Russia. So I think breaking up the EU is going to lead to less war, but of course, the fearmongers want to say exactly the opposite. They're saying we need this giant super state, this unelected bureaucracy lording over us. Now let's get to that German shooting that took place in Wernheim, which is just in the region of Frankfurt, Germany. A masked man went into a theater. I guess he started opening fire, but nobody was killed except for the gunman. Now, Tillman, what have you learned just doing your research in the last day or so on this event?
Yeah, I mean, I have no 100% proof, but this looked highly suspicious to me, because in Germany we have a long histories of these lone gunmen killing people and then being dead. We had like 2003, a school shooting. Robert Steinhäuser shot 16 people, including himself, and then more than 40 witnesses speak of 2 gunmen. But the police doesn't investigate, and also the media doesn't report. Then we have Winnenden shooting 2009, also a school shooting. The killer is dead, kills himself, and kills 15 people. And there's a lot of contradiction in the official version. Of course, witnesses speak of another gunman, but the killer is dead again. Then we have a shooting in Lörrach. Killer, it's a woman, she kills 3 people, gets shot by the police. It's a lot of contradictions, no motive for the killer. The media doesn't report about it, and the killer is dead again. Then we have the National Socialist Underground, that was a so-called Nazi terrorist organization. They were killed, and they said they killed themselves when they saw the police arriving, which made no sense. And then it came out there was a German intelligence service member close to the attacks where these National Underground killers were. So in 6 of the 9 murders, there was an agent for the German intelligence. So all these contradictions, and in the end, the killer is always dead. So we have the same here, which is at least suspicious, and it is of course an indication. So I did my research today, and I called the cinema, I called the police, and I called the office of the district attorney, and I called the Bild-Zeitung, which is the biggest newspaper in Germany. So no one really answered me, except of the office of the district attorney, but they didn't really want to answer my questions. So I asked them about some events that weren't super suspicious, but at least noticeable. But they always said, no, we can't answer that, and we can't answer that. But I read you my questions which I had, because there were a lot of things that seemed at least noticeable. So I asked, why did it take 3 hours to the first emergency call from the cinema manager at 2:41 until 6? It took 3 hours till the police declared the area safe again. So that reminded me of Orlando. Like, why does it take 3 hours? I mean, were there some negotiations with the hostage taker? What happened in these 3 hours? Because obviously the police needs to be quick. If it's like a kidnapping, they need to be as quick as possible. Then I was interested, how did they localize the shooter in the cinema? So did they maybe see him through a window? And if so, shouldn't they have seen that he only has alarm weapons, which came out now? So it was just a question. I didn't say, oh, this has to be like that by him. If they saw him before, they should have maybe seen that he has alarm weapons. So then, very important question I asked, there was a report of the biggest German newspaper called the Bild-Zeitung at 4:30, which included an interview with a witness who said that the kidnapper spoke broken German. And now the office of the district attorney says that it was a 19-year-old German from Mannheim, and they say he was born in Germany and he's half Italian. So if he's born in Germany, I mean, the chance is there if he's half Italian, but it's more sure that he speaks perfect German. And why is he speaking broken German? And they never investigated that again. There was a witness who said he spoke broken German. Then there was another witness who said, I had to close the door for the kidnapper, and he was aiming a gun at my head. And then the kidnapper told him to go up the elevator. So it's weird that the kidnapper says to somebody, leave me alone, go up the elevator, because obviously the hostage could flee and, I don't know, run away through security doors from the higher floors. So this sounds very weird for a kidnapper. And also, what kind of kidnapper is that? There were no negotiations. He had no real gun, just an alarm gun with tear gas. So were there negotiations, and what was his purpose? And then he shot the alarm gun and hurt 25 people with it. And I had the question that I also didn't want to answer. Did he have something on that protected him from the pepper spray, from the tear gas in the alarm gun? So also no answers there. And of course, the most important question, he only had an alarm gun. So was it really necessary to kill him? Of course, I mean, there's a lot of panic, but I mean, there are like dozens of policemen walking in there. They are protected from head to toe. So, I mean, if there's a shot fired, they will immediately see that it's just an alarm gun. And it's one guy against, I don't know, 20 people. And, and even if they shot them, the chances are very low that they kill him immediately. So was this really necessary? Of course, these were just questions I asked. And obviously, they just gave out the official story and they didn't want to answer me. So yeah, that was the most important question, but the story is still to unfold. So we get more information about this. So.
That's right, Tillman. And other news outlets are reporting that he had harmless grenades, he had replica weapons. So this story really doesn't add up. We're out of time now, but rest assured, I know you're going to be on the case. If anything else crops up, you're going to let us know. And we'll be right back after this short announcement from InfoWarsLife.com. This is Rob Drew reporting for the Infowars Nightly News.
The globalists have controlled the mainstream media for a long time, but now they're expanding, making the weaponization even more vicious and deceptive. All the major networks are state-run.
We are partnering this year with the NFL.
The NFL has become a political weapon against the Second Amendment and pushes Obamacare. MSNBC tells us that our children belong to the state.
We have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities.
The brainwashing media machine has been turned up on high, and it's time for humanity to double down on the true people's media and strike back against the tyrants that are destroying our civilization with their lies and fraud. We are the resistance. You are the resistance. You are the Infowar. It is more important than ever to realize that we are not the alternative media. We are the true media. The establishment dinosaur press is dying.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war.
Join us at InfoWarsNews.com and PrisonPlanet.tv. Members can share their memberships with up to 11 people. By subscribing, you will literally be buying war bonds in the InfoWar to expand our operation in the face of the tyrants. Join us at PrisonPlanet.tv.